I, 33F, am a single mother to a 6-year-old girl. I've raised my daughter all on my own. She was born from a one-night stand with a now former friend, 37M. We never got together and he refused to be involved in my pregnancy or my daughter's first 4 years of life. I was stressed out emotionally because it's a big change, but I never asked for child support or forced him to be involved. I have enough income to send my daughter to private school. I'm perfectly fine on my own. The issue started when he reappeared from wherever he went and decided he wanted visitation. He's not in my daughter's birth certificate. Father is listed as unknown. He wanted to have that amended. I said no, and that if he wants, best he'll get is to meet her in outings with myself or my daughter's godparents. He agreed, but he's been constantly pressuring getting parental rights. Court already gave him a big fat no, unless he pays 4 years of child support, which with his income goes somewhere around $230K USD. He hasn't paid a cent. My daughter doesn't even call him dad. Or recognize him as dad. She calls him Mr. I keep it very clean. I never bad talked him, never made up stories. When she asked about her father, I used to say it was just the two of us. Even during court, the assigned CPS agent testified that my daughter had no affection or clear relationship with her biological father. Now the main issue happened in a PTA meeting. He would say things like my family thinks or what is best for my family. I didn't agree with him and I voiced by saying my daughter has different needs and those are priority. He was clearly angry. After the meeting there was a moment for teachers and parents to mingle and just talk how the kids are doing. One of the teachers approached me to apologize, saying she didn't know my husband and I didn't like a project she was doing with the kids. I told her I had no husband and my daughter loved the project and wants to be part of it. The teacher then told me that my former friend was going around talking like he's my husband and he represents the family. I saw red. I walked to him and very loudly told him we needed to talk in private. In the parking lot I told him we were not a family and that he either will respect I am the only one that can make decisions on my daughter's education or he won't be involved. He went on about being her biological father, then I reminded him he had not paid a cent for the pregnancy, my daughter's needs, or even the private school my daughter is in. He hasn't tried to see my daughter since, which she doesn't mind at all. I asked her. I do feel a bit bad about what I said. Ida? I wanted to add this because the PMs are driving me insane. He has the money to pay child support. He chose not to pay. He was never prohibited from being involved. He had my phone number. I sent him picture and invited him to birthdays and other big celebrations. He never came. PSA, we are not in the US. Verdict, not the asshole. Comments where Op has replied. Commentator asked about why she was trying to keep her daughter away from the ex/father, trying to accuse Oop for not reaching out. Oop, he actually asked me to abort, so there's your context if it helps. Also, to correct one thing, I never kept him away. I called him to the birth, I called him for every birthday. I tried to have him involved but he always said he didn't want to be part of it. 2 years ago he came up and began asking for rights. I never stopped him, but I don't feel comfortable with him being alone with my daughter. Boo2U622, your story has a few holes in it. Not sure you are being honest. Child support and visitation are separate issues. And according to you paternity hasn't been established. This doesn't sound right. But if you are denying the father access to your daughter, this will likely backfire on you. Your daughter isn't going to be 6 forever. Oop, I'd how it is in other countries, but here visitations are not guaranteed unless the father has parental rights. I am not denying him access, I just don't feel comfortable of him being alone with my daughter. Child support is mandatory for parental rights. He has never paid a dime, so the court deny him parental rights. Spare Article 396, and with him not even being on the BC, why didn't you just tell anyone, admin, teacher, etc. that he had no legal relationship with your child? Why didn't the teachers ask? How did the teachers not know he wasn't your husband? A private school has much fewer students. Haven't you met and talked to your kid's teacher? So many questions. Oop, to be fair, I've kept my family situation very private. It's not well seeing where I live to be a single mother. Most people assume I'm either a widow or my husband is overseas. Admin knew, but I had no real time to correct him. Plus, I didn't want to make too big a scene. It's why I took it to the parking lot. Infamosos NTA. I do want to say though, you really ought to have a word with the main office and your daughter's teacher about this though. Make sure it's very clear that he has no legal relationship to her, and that he is not permitted to access her records, pull her out of school, or make changes to anything like emergency contacts. If he's going around representing himself as the head of your household, that indicates future problems. I'd also document that he's doing that at her school and who has witnessed it, just in case. I'm a step-parent to a child with a deadbeat bio-parent and it makes for a lot of things to consider on the just-in-case basis for her safety. Oop, I made sure to speak to admin. Kids cannot be removed from school without signed permission from the legal guardian. Otherwise, kids take a bus straight from the school home. And I work from home, so I always receive her at the front. Update 1. My daughter's father wants to use her as therapy for his wife. December 31st, 2023. 33F. Going to preface this by saying my 6 years old daughter's father, 37M, I'm going to call him Jeff, has never been my romantic partner. We had a one-night stand. I don't like people calling him my ex, since it makes it seem we had some kind of emotional attachment. He was never involved after I told him I was pregnant, and actually wanted me to terminate the pregnancy, but I decided to raise my child alone since I have enough money to raise her without child support. For the whole pregnancy and the first 4 years, Jeff was not in the picture. On my mother's recommendation, I did send him pictures and invited him to special events, but he always replied he had no interest in my daughter. 2 years ago he reappeared and began demanding parental rights. When I didn't do what he wanted, he sued, and was told no, he was not getting parental rights. He was given the offer to pay child support and then we can revisit giving him actual rights, but he has refused. He has the money, much more than me, but he refuses. I still offered to let him see my daughter in a casual manner, no child support needed, with the agreement anything legal, medical, or educational will not involve him. He pushed the boundaries and we had a fallout. After that, we didn't hear from him for almost 6 weeks before he called to meet for Christmas. After much discussion, I agreed to bring my daughter over on the condition my daughter's godparents could come. Thus we went over for Christmas dinner. And finding out Jeff is married and had never told his family he had a child. It was great to be judged by a bunch of strangers. It was uncomfortable the whole time. I'm going to use fake names, but let's say my daughter's name is Katie. His wife kept calling my daughter Gabrielle. Not the actual name she used, but it was that different to my daughter's name. The wife was also very physical, trying to pick up my daughter or parent her. I would block her or tell her to please let me deal with my child. The whole time she pretty much ignored me, but Katie didn't seem nervous so I decided to just bid my time. I hit my limit when my daughter said she needed the bathroom and the stranger went, "Oh Gabby, you need potty? Let mommy change you." My daughter hasn't worn diapers in a while now and she's more than capable of going alone to the bathroom. I immediately told her to stay away from my daughter and that we were leaving. The woman started wailing that I was kidnapping her baby girl and tried to lunge at me. Her in-laws got in the middle and hold her, consoling her and saying that we weren't leaving and for her to calm down like she was the victim. At that point I just glared at Jeff and told him he better explain or I would be calling the police. He asked me to speak in private in another room and that I could just leave my daughter with his parents. No way that would ever happen. Katie's godparents took her with them despite the wife having a full meltdown. Jeff and I spoke outside and he explained that he and his wife recently lost a daughter. I'm not going to give specific details on that, all I'll say it was sudden and nobody's fault. And as I can only imagine it had caused some psychological issues to his wife. Apparently he had the brilliant idea that having Katie pass as their lost child would help his wife. Without telling me. And that's why he wanted visitations and parental rights. He pleaded for me to leave my daughter with him for a little bit. I asked him what was his plan when his wife heals. His response was disgusting. "Well, I'll just send Katie back with you and it will be just like before." I told him he was insane if he thought I would let him use my daughter like that. What his wife needs is therapy with a professional, not feeding her delusions. And I would not let that woman within miles from my daughter. He told me I was being cruel and didn't know the pain of losing a child. I agreed with him, but reminded Jeff that my priority is not his family, it's my child. What he and his family do to work through their grief has nothing to do with us. I also told him to call his lawyer because I am making sure he never has contact with my child. So that's what I'm bracing for. He's been blasting my phone since Christmas, but I can easily ignore him. My daughter and I are doing a small travel vacation. This isn't an update, just something I feel needs to be said. My daughter is set for life monetarily. She has a trust and I make really good money in my position. If she was 18 right now, I could put her through college without a loan. She doesn't need child support for quality of life. If I could get child support and never worry about her father trying something, I would be suing him in a heartbeat. But after talking to a lawyer and realizing the risk, I've taken the decision that child support, or possible inheritance, is not worth my child's safety. Safety is always first. January 6, 2024. Hey everyone. Happy New Year's. This isn't so much a real update as just letting people know we are home and safe. My daughter is spending the rest of her vacation with her godparents on another trip while I work on things. Moving might be something I'll be looking into, though that is a long-term plan considering all it takes. I won't share too many details on what my lawyer is going to be doing, but we are absolutely going to push for Enroe. I might not post for some time. At least not until things settled. I do appreciate all the support and good advice. I'm taking a lot of it into account as I plan how to move forward. Comments. Commentator asked about getting a restraining order immediately against the ex and his wife. And that Oop and her daughter has a safe place to attend at. Oop, the immediate plan is actually for my daughter to stay with her godparents while I deal with the mess. Her godfather is self-employed so he can actually drop her and pick her at school. A restraining order is the minimal I'm trying for. Nina Bean, as a godmother, there's something that I always say. My godson needs his mother, and we both know she'll bring him to visit me in jail or prison anyway. You get everything legal squared away. Godparents will keep her safe. You're doing a good job. You're a good mama and you're going to protect your baby. You've got this. Oop, my daughter's godparents were with me for my whole pregnancy and were my support system. She calls her godfather Papa sometimes and her godmother Mama. I'm Mommy or Madre. When she wants something XD, if anything was to happen to me, they are the people I trust to raise her. Titaniac 79, Op. The only advice I can give you is to start protecting yourself and your daughter by looking for lawyers, just in case, and keep every single receipt you get from him, texts, emails, voicemails, etc. Because there could be a possibility that you will need them in case baby daddy / wife / their family goes full off the rails nuclear crazy. Oop, absolutely. I have a trusted lawyer and he's on top of things. Once I get back I plan to give him my old phone so he can keep better track of all the messages directly, and also for my own sanity get a new phone and number. Phoenix_64 from the post and comments, sounds like the godparents are very wonderful people to have supporting you and your daughter right now. Oop, they truly are. When I can't be present for something, they always are willing to take time for medical appointments or after school hobbies. In all honesty, they are pretty much co-parents with me. Financial_ad6744 I know you've said that you have a robust will and if you found out you had limited time, you would sign over your rights to them, but is there a way in which you could make them legally your co-parents? Only asking because I personally feel more secure with some form of insurance policy, and I wonder if you would, too. Oop, it's a bit complicated, but if I was to die suddenly, my mother and my lawyer would be my daughter's first guardians should they need to be involved. And they would have the legal standing to pass parental rights to the godparents. I never married my daughter's father, and he currently has no rights to claim her. It would have to be proven that my first choices are not capable to care for my daughter. Of course it can change and I plan to always consult with my lawyer to make sure my will is followed. Update 2, January 11, 2024. Hey everyone, I decided to post a last update, since I will be going full silent for a long period. For those that didn't know, I'm right now dealing with my daughter's father and his delusion. He wants to use my daughter as a therapy doll for his wife that recently lost a child. A lot people were worried for my daughter and me, and I truly appreciate it. We're both safe, she's currently having a great vacation with her godparents, and I'm currently making my own arrangements to move on. My lawyer is working hard on keeping everything in order. I know a cease and desist was his first action and we're going for no contact. He says we have a solid case and hopefully this will be resolved relatively fast. And by that I mean a year or two. We did get a temporary restraining order. It's only until our first court date, but after it could be extended. I haven't had direct contact with Jeff. He lawyered up too and tried to send a threat to take full custody. My lawyer laughed at it since his reasoning was parental alienation. Except I have proof I tried for years to have him involved. Apparently turning in a few emails showing my attempts was enough to get them to change parental alienation to a different reasoning. My lawyer is not worried in all honesty. For now I've decided after much thinking that moving is going to be necessary. It won't be something I can do on a whim, but I'll be looking into new houses within the month to hopefully move sometime this year. School will remain the same, but we will be speaking to the admin to make sure only certain people can pick her up. And part of that decision has been to hire a private driver. He's someone I absolutely trust and has worked for relatives in the past, so I'm very comfortable with the idea and so is my daughter. Now I just have to make sure they don't go for fast food every day after school. Things in all honesty are not that scary right now. I have a good lawyer, good evidence, and my little girl is happy and healthy, so I'm just going to focus on working things little by little. Because of the legal proceedings I don't think I'll be posting any updates anytime soon. And to those sending me PMs telling me I'm horrible for keeping my daughter from her father, or telling me I shouldn't have had her in the first place, please kindly speak to the void. I'm too busy. New update, my daughter's father sent a priest to harass me. March 26, 2024. I had no intentions to do a new post, but today absolutely took the cake. To those that don't know, my daughter, 6yo, was born from a one-night stand with Jeff. We were never romantically involved. It was a simple one-night stand and we did use contraceptives, but they failed. It happens. A few months ago Jeff went full psycho and tried to convince me to leave my daughter with him so she could serve as a replacement child for his wife who recently lost their infant daughter. I refused and right now we're in the middle of some legal issues. Now for today, I thankfully didn't deal with Jeff. Instead he sent a priest to harass me at work. I'm going to be very blunt, I am completely detached from religion. I'm not an atheist, just don't really like the idea of the Catholic Church, that's the leading religion in my home country. I respect it and most of my family is Catholic so I have a detached respect for church officials. Today I was doing some paperwork when I got a call about a priest asking for me. I didn't have any meetings scheduled and a lot of times we get visits from clergy asking for donations or participation in events, so I figured that was it. I told the secretary to let him in and things at first seemed rather polite. Shake hands, asking how things were. The usual chit-chat. Then the priest began talking about how it had come to his attention that I was a single woman with a child, and that apparently I lived a life of debauchery and hate. His words. I was taken aback and agreed I was a single mother, but that I didn't see how I lived in debauchery and hate. The priest then went on about how he knew my daughter is prohibited from spending time with her father and that I'm constantly sleeping around with men instead of living a godly life. How he was worried and thought it would be best I considered giving my daughter a chance to live with a proper family rather than see me sell myself. Angry was an understatement. I did keep it civil simply because I was at work and I had no intentions of screaming to a religious man at work. I simply told him that my daughter was fine with me, she lived a safe and happy life, my personal affairs were my own, and that I had no intentions of sending her to another household. I told him that if there was nothing else, he should probably leave as I had other things to attend to. He then showed his hand and that's how I know it was Jeff's doing. The priest told me he didn't think my daughter would be a happy child with me, but her father was well respected in his church and he knew he would raise a proper Christian lady. At that I laughed, and simply said no. I once again recommended he left and if he didn't, I would be calling security. He left saying he would try to speak to me again when I'm not being hysterical. I told my secretary and our security not to let him into my office again. And I called my lawyer. I don't have audio, but we do have security feed from him walking into my office. Thank you again to everyone sending well wishes in my previous post. We are still working on that move, but school is back and she's loving it. We still have that temporary restraining order against Jeff and his wife. And school officials know it. Comments. Oop on making a police report on the priest harassing. Oop, oh we're making a complaint to church leadership here. Police won't do anything because of how religion is viewed, so just going to jump over them. Oop responds on abortions in her area/country. Oop, might as well nip this already, abortions are illegal where I live. Aside from that, after looking at the health risks, I decided against it. It was a conscious choice on my health. I considered adoption at first. But I love my daughter. I don't regret having her. Maybe you are right and life would be easier if I had taken a different decision, but it's not a life I ever want to have. She's the greatest thing that ever happened to me.